Vietnam people will shoot you if you don't like this video and subscribe right now. Nice storms right. Wrong. This is Norwegian prison cell. Valonia ventricosa, the largest single-celled organism on Earth. Yep, this is a single living cell. Heir to the English throne, Prince Charles sits alone during the state opening of Parliament in London today. This is the first time that the Queen has missed the event in almost 60 years. We are demolishing our old vacation home. After ripping down the outside walls, we found out that our bathroom was inside this old Ford Transit. We had no idea. Albert Einstein before his famous photo with his tongue out. 2000 plus year old 20-sided rock crystal die from the Roman Empire. A tattoo detailing instructions on how to preserve the body of a Cryonics member. In case of emergency, call 800-367-222 for Biostasis Protocol 50,000 heparin for CPR and cool sea ice. No embalming/autopsy. Member A011. Fences up around Supreme Court after Roe v. Wade leak. Lacebug. Stephanitis typicus. Looks like stained glass. Lithops. Type of plants in South Africa that evolved to look like stones. The cell of the Norwegian murderer who killed about 77 people, including teenagers too. Greenhouse, made from recycled church stained glass windows. The combined shooters posing for their class photo just a few weeks before they murdered 15 of their classmates. Imagine how the few other people making the same gesture felt when it actually happened. In 2010, a family discovered a hidden ancient chapel under their house. Shropshire, England. A mosaic by Gary Drossel. Texas. Anyone who performs, induces or attempts an action where an unborn child dies as a result of the offense is guilty of a first-degree felony, punishable by up to life in prison and up to a $10,000 fine. Zanzibar, 1947. An exhausted nanny poses with her young charge, named Farrokh Bulsara. A quarter of a century later, he would adopt the pseudonym of Freddie Mercury. Sunlight enters the sanctuary of Amun-Ra in the temple of King Ramses III, Egypt. A horse-drawn bus from the 1890s. Iguanas have 3 eyes. The third eye is located on top of the head. The spine of a whale in a lake in Norway. The difference in John Lennon's appearance from 1966 to 1967. A unique pattern formed from the shadow under the tree. Navy fighter jet photographed while breaking the sound barrier. A 1958 golden Sahara II with Goodyear's illuminated neothane glow tires. On May 8, 1945, the Nazis surrendered to the Allies, bringing World War II in Europe to an end. Happy V-Day. Mid-flight snacks on Scandinavian Airlines in 1969. A 2.6 kilograms bladder stone extracted from a patient. Turtle after awakening from hibernation. A guy loses his phone in the forest and finds it back filled with monkey pictures. The water in both tanks is from the same time and place. The tank on the right has oysters. Oysters are natural purifiers. A single adult oyster can cleanse about 50 gallons of water per day. An abbey close to me has a xenomorph gargoyle. Russian ambassador in Poland, organized a celebration of Russian Victory Day in Warsaw, and that's what he looked like afterwards. It is red paint, not blood. A prehistoric elasmotherium, also known as a Siberian unicorn, extinct 39,000 years ago. In 2004, Marvin was fed up with many aspects of law and made an improvised tank with air conditioner, cameras, 3 gun ports, and bulletproof cases for the cameras. He then went on a rampage. Police even dropped a flashbang grenade down the exhaust to no avail. A 1930s aerodynamics advertisement for Tatras, the first serial-produced streamlined cars, T77, T87, T97. The clouds in this photo are 470 light years from Earth. Last year, Pringles set up a promotional item to celebrate Pakistan's Independence Day, where they started selling enormous sized Pringles for just 725 rupees, $3.85. The white one is of the original size, to compare the size of the promotional one. Ukraine. While on military training in World War II, Gilbert Bradley was in love. He exchanged hundreds of letters with his sweetheart, initially signed as G. 70 years later it was discovered that G stood for Gordon and Gilbert was in love with a man. What the duck, I have never seen a horse with curly hair before. Comparison image taken from Spitzer telescope versus the newly aligned James Webb telescope. Spitzer Iraq 8.0 mu. Webb Mary 7.7 mu. Don't know if this belongs, but this is the inside of the Sagrada Familia when the sun shines through the tainted glass. Evolution of the donut hole. Size of the donut hole. Down through the years. 1927. 1 1/2. 1937. 7/8. 1948. 3/8. Billionaire Vijay Mallya's mansion atop a skyscraper in Bangalore, India. The Mesopotamian marshes, a wetland area located in southern Iraq. Island princess squeezing trough, Panama Canal. You can get through whole Europe on a boat. Vinyl record grooves, where you can see the waveforms of the music. A look at vinyl record grooves at around 1000 times magnification. You can see the waveforms of the music itself. Needle. Waves of right channel. Waves of left channel. Located in Air Massif, Niger, are 2 of the biggest animal rock petroglyphs in the world, called the Dabus giraffes, dated 8000 BC. Just saw this in front of my local sports shop. Another alternate angle. This is what the inside of the briefcase from Pulp Fiction looked like. This rare color mutation on an Australian rainbow lorikeet. A 19-year-old man water skiing as Mount St. Helens erupts in the background. A beach in Japan where snow, sand and sea meet each other. Private houses on the roof of an 8-story mall in Zhuzhou, China. The annual monsoon ritual of Mumbai's ocean, giving back what has been dumped in it. The Carrot Crater. Iceland looks like a portal to another world. Genocide is having bike lubricated during 1949 Tour de France. This long exposure photo of plankton looks like it's from another planet. I saw someone else post some dinosaur footprints, so I thought I'd post some of my own. These are prints found on the La Salle Mountains near Moabutor. The MS World Discoverer was a cruise ship that hit an underwater obstacle near the Solomon Islands in April 2000. All passengers were rescued before the captain grounded the ship in Roderick Bay, where it sits to this day, to avoid it sinking. Brooklyn Supreme, possibly the largest horse to have ever existed. An F-15 guarding the space shuttle Atlantis as it launches from the Kennedy Space Center. Dino tracks near Golden, Colorado. Apparently the Front Range used to be a tropical coastline. Frank Lettany, 1889 to 1966, had 3 legs, 16 toes and 2 private organs due to a rare condition where he inherited the limbs of a twin that never fully formed alongside him. Indigenous peoples of the Philippines voting on election day wearing their traditional garment May 9, 2022. A view of the Earth from Saturn. The way the ice formed on my truck this morning. Volcanic lightning is an electrical discharge caused by a volcanic eruption, rather than from an ordinary thunderstorm. A photo of the 3 unsung heroes prepping for their mission. They stopped millions more from dying from the Chernobyl disaster. A photo of an engineer wiring an early IBM computer, 1958 by Berenice Abbott. There is a 666 bus line on Hel Peninsula in Poland. 888,246 ceramic poppies were depicted pouring out of the Tower of London in 2018, in remembrance of the 100th anniversary of World War I. Each poppy was later sold for £25 to raise money for armed forces charities. Nutt Gregory was a comedian and civil rights activist. This is what his autobiography was titled. He states that his mom called him when she heard what the title was and said to her, "If you ever hear that word again, remember they are advertising my book, Nick." An autobiography by Nutt Gregory with Robert Lipsyte. The different color phases of the American black bear, not always black. This brand new Fiat 147 was found in Argentina by a car collector. The car has been abandoned in this shed since 1987. Probably driven only once to get there. One happy meal for the Falcon please. Pet the dog, sentenced to life in prison for killing Pennsylvania governor's cat 1924. Winner of Miss Atomic Bomb 1950. In Ireland, postcodes are for individual addresses, meaning that it's possible for a letter to contain only the postcode and have it be correctly delivered to the person's address. Museum display of the gear of George Ulrich, a geologist who fell into lava flow from the Kilauea volcano. His heat-resistant pants managed to save him from partial immersion in 2000-degree lava. He not only survived, he was able to take up running again only a few months later. 95 alternate angles. This is how the iconic scene from Ghostbusters was filmed. I found this coin inside a wall while demoing an old house. I found out it's from the Great Depression era, and it is worth 1/10 of a cent for when the sales tax was less than a cent, so you could pay the sales tax on purchases. I never knew about this. Lake Macdonald, Pink Lake in South Australia's Eyre Peninsula. Electron microscopic view of a bee stinger versus a needle tip. Overhead shot of the over 700 hospital beds used for the cover of Pink Floyd's album A Momentary Lapse of Reason, taken at Saunton Beach in North Devon. Marseille fans made the Stade Velodrome look like another planet with smoke from their flares. Rhind mathematical papyrus Egypt 15th circa BCE. Textbook used by scribes to learn to solve particular mathematical problems. 84 problems are included in the text covering tables of divisions, multiplication, and handling of fractions, and geometry, including volumes and areas. How far post boxes actually go into the ground. The world's oldest purse, found in a grave in Germany that has been dated to between 2500 and 2200 BC. It was studded with over 100 dog teeth, and other items in the grave suggest dog and canine teeth were a fashion statement. Rat catchers were employed in Europe to control rat populations. Keeping the rat population under control was practiced in Europe to prevent the spread of diseases to man, most notoriously the Black Plague, and to prevent damage to food supplies. Today this job no longer exists. Iridovirus infected isopod. This deadly virus turns isopods a vibrant purple. The first underwater painting ever made 1867 by Eugen von Ransonet. An American soldier standing in the ruined monument to the Battle of Nations in Leipzig, Germany 1945. Size of Vatican City compared to Central Park in New York City. Original and restored photograph of Conrad Heyer. The image was taken in 1852, when was 103, making him the earliest born verified person to be captured in a photograph. Heyer was a veteran of the American Revolutionary War. Born in 1749, he died in 1854 aged 106. This is one of the most well-preserved surviving rooms on board the wreck of the Titanic. The oldest surviving deck of 52 playing cards, made in the Netherlands, circa 1475 AD, currently housed at Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Jupiter viewed from its south pole. A 64-ton sarcophagus, built by an Egyptian cult to house a mummified bull, one of 24 at the site. Dinosaur footprints in France. Found a one-legged goose outside in my school this morning. Humans compared to a sequoia tree, which can reach 50 to 85 meters, and some can reach 94 meters. Caerlaverock is a ruined medieval moated castle in Scotland, built by the Maxwell family in the 13th century. A beautiful tape ball cricket pitch in Chitral, Pakistan. In Australia there is a type of fish called mouth almighty which takes care of its babies by carrying hundreds of babies in its mouth. Jail cell of infamous American bootlegger Al Capone at Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania during the Prohibition era. River of Five Colors, Caño Cristales River in La Macarena, Colombia. A slag pod from a copper smelting plant that was left behind when the area got repurposed to a city park. This Sardinian Easter bread. Yes, it really is bread and edible. France used to have a law that made it mandatory for mobile phones to ship with earphones included, so every iPhone actually came in a bigger box that included free AirPods. Unfortunately, they removed that law as of last year. On December 3, 1976, the flying pig on Pink Floyd's Animals album cover was torn loose by a gust of wind. It flew east over Heathrow and over the English Channel, with flights being cancelled. It landed that night on a farm in Kent. Jellyfish cloud over my neighborhood from SpaceX launch. In 1980, a drilling miscalculation sent a 14-inch drill bit into a salt mine. Not oil. The 10-foot deep pond ate the entire 150-foot oil rig, made the biggest whirlpool/waterfall in Louisiana, ate 65 acres of land, made a river flow backwards, and swallowed multiple tankers among more. Welding with gas versus without gas. I used my Astro-modified DSLR to capture this panoramic image of the winter Milky Way arch and the zodiacal light over Kelly Halton in the Lake District, UK. A poster stating basically that actions induced by grandma or self-taught midwives not only maim the woman, they also often lead to death. To add to this, the USSR was the first nation in the world to legalize abortion in 1920. Soviet Union. A $10 trillion bill from Zimbabwe. At the time I got it, it was worth $20 Canadian. Northern Saudi Arabia desert. The original foundation of a house that stood here in the 1700s. The animatronic Stitch from this shut-down Disney World attraction Stitch's Great Escape after being abandoned. The stork just delivered 240,000 baby Miyagi oysters. Will be ready for the table 18 to 24 months after hand-raised TLC by me. I get them at 4mm 1/8 foot, and they leave the nursery 12mm ½ foot, and are 9 to 12 months old. Market size 3 inches to your table. Buried and forgotten for centuries, the foundation walls of monumental building dating to the era of Alexander the Great. This is what a 250,000 canning jarlets looks like before they get cut out. The red-fanged parrot is the only member of its genus, Diropterus. Recently uncovered Native American cave art has a urge dump truck. The only aerocarrier angustifolia tree bonsai in the world. On June 7, 2007, a massive tornado ripped across Wisconsin, leaving a half-mile wide path that can still be seen from space on Google Maps. This Disney character book came from inside the company. Internal guidelines on how the characters are drawn and depicted. This picture has 20 square sheets of paper that have been folded into origami figures without any cutting or tearing. The Sagrada Familia Cathedral was designed by hanging weights from the ceiling with strings. The strings' angles, lengths, positions helped with the design for the structural load-bearing columns as well as the design itself. Construction started in 1883, and it may be completed in 2026.